Hello everybody and welcome back to the Not Applicable Formula 1 channel, where over the last 7 days, Charles Leclerc has been doing his best to force Ferrari to make upgrades by destroying the car that they already have. Nyck De Vries has already gotten himself an ultimatum from Helmut Marko after I think they finally realised that not all Dutch drivers are that great, and Fernando Alonso has had an anniversary that he will definitely want to forget. Starting with Charles Leclerc, who's been in the headlines again after the Miami Grand Prix for crashing his Ferrari into the barriers at turn 7, not once, but twice. It really hasn't been the start of the season that Charles Leclerc would have wanted, considering the hype around the Ferrari car before the season, as in 4 of the first 5 races, he hasn't been anywhere near finishing at the top of the podium.
So incredibly difficult to be on the limit.
Luckily for Leclerc, I still think there's a chance that he could get a number 1 in his career. Unfortunately, I think it's more likely to come from a collaboration with will.i.am than on the track. Talking of will.i.am, the Miami Grand Prix came under fire from fans and drivers for having too many gimmicks, from the awkward driver introductions to the plastic marina inside the track, and letting F2 teams like McLaren join in the Formula 1 race. Since Formula 1 has been trying to make a statement in America, it's been adding even more races, from 1 in COTA to now having 3, with Miami being the second, and Las Vegas set to host its first race in November this year. But by adding some of this American flair to the calendar, they've also introduced things like the WWE style introductions for each driver as they enter the race. The problem though is that a lot of them are incredibly cringy or just wrong. For instance, Yuki Tsunoda's only defining characteristic as a driver is that he's quite small. Nico Hulkenberg is called the Hulk because he drives aggressively, and Nyck De Vries is worthy of a Formula 1 seat. Also, along with the driver introductions, we had The Formula, a new song by will.i.am, Lil Wayne, and Formula 1 themselves, as they worked on such insightful lyrics as "This is the Formula, yep. This is the Formula A. This is the Formula, yep. This is the Formula 1. It truly encapsulates the sport as we know it. Formula 1 have actually made will.i.am their new global artist in residence, and throughout the 2023 season we'll see even more Formula 1 inspired tracks, culminating in a new solo album for will.i.am. Hooray! I was actually given the amazing opportunity by Formula 1 to listen to a few of the possible tracks coming over the course of the 2023 season, titled "It Mazepin Love, But It's Over Now," "Email Me Maybe," and "If You Don't Like My Bars, Change Your Fucking Car." Along with the introductions and this new song, of course, we got to see Martin Brundle walking the grid again, and it always seems to just be a little bit more entertaining in America, especially when Martin sends in Formula 1 legend Jackie Stewart to be tackled by security. Martin Brundle was headed towards the front of the grid where he bumped into Jackie Stewart, but unfortunately Martin also spotted tennis star Roger Federer.
Roger!
Even with Martin trying to catch the Hawkeye of Roger, neither Jackie or Martin could cross the white line into the VIP area. That was until 83-year-old Jackie decided to put the ball in his own court and take things into his own hands, breaking into the VIP area and serving himself up to Federer's guards, only for him to be volleyed away from Roger's path. Thankfully, with a little convincing and possibly a helping hand from George Russell, Jackie did eventually guide Roger to Martin, where he gave an insightful interview. He talked about how he was with the Mercedes team for the weekend, and the main thing that he was looking forward to was hearing the incredible noise of these Formula 1 cars going around the track, because of course he's used to a racket. Back to the on-track action at the Miami Grand Prix, and Red Bull are so confident that they've already got this season in the bag, they've started letting fans design the car, so that I imagine the rest of the team can get back to the incredible buffet the catering department offer. This was of course the news that Red Bull ran a one-off livery at the Miami Grand Prix. After thousands of entries, graphic design student Martina Adriano was chosen as the winner, adding some pink, purple and blue to the side of the Red Bull car. Apparently, team principal Christian Horner was one of the people in charge of choosing the winner, but the first design that he chose wasn't quite what the sponsors were going for. As you can imagine, she was absolutely overjoyed. "This is going to be my first race ever, the car's going to have my design, and I'm going to be in the garage. It's going to be an amazing week." And I actually think this is something that more teams should offer over the course of a season. Another livery that caught the eye over the past week was McLaren's, as they had to make an addition to their car for the Miami Grand Prix, due to their sponsor Velo being on the side pods and the FDA laws stating that nicotine products must be accompanied with a warning. We saw "Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical," printed onto the side of the MCL60. Many McLaren fans aren't too happy with this being one of the team's major sponsors this year, but I'm sure that McLaren won't be too worried being linked to these kind of brands, considering they're doing such a good job at promoting them, what with their season already going up in smoke. At the end of the Grand Prix, Max Verstappen was booed on the podium by the Miami fans, and in response, the fans said, "There's always been boos on the podium." because of the champagne. This had actually started before the race, as Max's mechanics were even being chanted at and sworn at while setting up the car on the grid. And fair play to them, they seemed to just laugh it off and poke fun at the fans that were misbehaving, but then this led to chants of "fuck you Max" as he was lifting the winner's trophy on the podium, although like his team, Max was fairly unfazed by the crowd, even afterwards saying,
"Is this something for me which is absolutely fine as long as I stand on the top. That's for me the most important. I take the trophy home and they go back to their houses and they can have a nice evening."
It's definitely something that we're seeing more often from Formula One fans. I'm thinking Max Verstappen fans burning Mercedes merchandise, and of course the many times that Lewis Hamilton was also booed during his dominance too. And as much as I'm for fans being very passionate, this seems like something Formula One needs to address sooner rather than later. Also this week, Nyck De Vries has already been given an ultimatum by Red Bull to improve his performances after driving like a bull in a clog shop for the first 5 races of the season. Nyck De Vries signed with AlphaTauri for the 2023 season alongside Yuki Tsunoda, and many thought it was going to be a really tough battle between the two of them. Nyck even stating before the season started that he doesn't want to be classified as a rookie, even though this is his first season in the sport because of his previous championship wins in Formula 2 and Formula E. As well as some of the statements he made previously in 2019, claiming that Lando Norris and Alex Albon were really no better than him. But unfortunately, the start of the season hasn't really gone to plan, and whilst Yuki Tsunoda has been in great form, Nyck, well, hasn't. His driving of the AlphaTauri car has been to the power of 12. Terrible. The constant crashing and lack of pace in comparison to Tsunoda has left Nyck looking less likely to be driving a Red Bull and more likely to be driving a bulldozer in the future. In fact, Lawson and Ricciardo have already been discussed as replacements as soon as the summer break, whilst Iwasa is being lined up to replace the Dutchman if he makes it as far as the end of the season for 2024. Nyck could really do without putting any more debris on the track over the next few races. Moving on from AlphaTauri, Alpine have also come under criticism this week, but it's been from their own boss, Laurent Rossi, who has been critical of the team's lack of progress. The CEO recently conducted an interview where he discussed the Alpine Formula One setup, and the main takeaway was that he's just not very happy with the team, especially considering what Aston Martin have been able to achieve. But I hope that nobody reminds him that he was part of the reason Fernando Alonso left. That would be awkward. With the team achieving 4th place in the Constructors last year, he called out the team for their efforts so far this season. We need to fix the mindset of the team ASAP and start looking like we can challenge the top teams soon. Specifically mentioning Otmar and how he is responsible for the performance of the team. That's his job.
That's not my job, that's your job.
If the team are unable to get the results that Rossi is expecting, he has threatened that there are going to be consequences. Honestly, does he know that this is the team that he put in place just a couple of years ago? This week, Formula One also saw the 10-year anniversary of Fernando Alonso's last win in Formula One. Just to take you back, Lewis Hamilton was in his debut season with Mercedes, Sebastian Vettel was the reigning world champion, and Oscar Piastri hadn't even started karting yet. On May 12th in 2013, in his home of Spain, the Spaniard won his 32nd race of his Formula One career, and since then I think it's fair to say that Fernando Alonso has had some ups and downs in his career, even taking a couple of years out of the sport completely, probably just so he could plan all of the crazy stuff he was going to do once he came back into Formula One. Because of course he did return to the grid, and in 2023 finds himself in a very competitive Aston Martin car. So competitive in fact that he's been on the podium 4 of the last 5 races. If Alonso were to win a race in 2023, the Spaniard would set the record for the longest gap between 2 wins in Formula One, which is currently held by Kimi Raikkonen, who went 114 Grand Prix between wins. And I feel like Alonso could do it now that his racing has improved thanks to crack. I'm sure that Fernando Alonso is absolutely desperate to win another race in Formula One, especially considering he's now running 2nd in the race to be Taylor Swift's boyfriend too. I'm sure as much as he'll be upset, he'll be able to shake it off. That's the end of today's episode. Let me know your favourite news story from the past week in Formula One down in the comments below. Whilst you're down there, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll see you next time.